Hold on to your hats, folks, because here's a doozy. The internet is obsessed with porn. Like, really obsessed. It's everywhere, and it's not going away anytime soon. We're talking billions of searches a year, making it more popular than cat videos and grandma's apple pie recipes combined. Yes, you heard that right. More popular than those adorable feline antics and delicious homemade treats. Shocking? Maybe not. But here's the kicker. All that explicit content isn't just harmless fun. It's having a profound impact on our minds and behaviors. It's changing our brains and not always in ways we might expect. The effects are subtle but significant, altering the way we think and feel. Imagine your brain as a supercomputer, constantly learning and adapting. Every click, every view, every interaction is like a new line of code being written. Now, imagine feeding it a steady diet of, well, it's like giving your brain junk food over and over again. Turns out the brain takes its food very seriously, rewiring itself to crave more and more of that digital dopamine rush. It's a cycle that's hard to break. This is where things get tricky. The more you consume, the more your brain wants, and the harder it becomes to resist. What starts as a harmless peak can quickly spiral into a full-blown addiction, similar to what happens with drugs or gambling. The cravings become intense, and the consequences can be severe. The pleasure centers of the brain get used to the constant stimulation, making it harder and harder to find satisfaction in, well, anything else. Everyday pleasures start to feel dull and uninteresting. But hey, it's all good, right? It's just the internet, not heroin, right? Well, not so fast. The impact on your mental health can be just as real. The truth is, this rewiring can have some pretty unexpected side effects, impacting everything from your love life to your self-esteem. Relationships can suffer, and self-worth can plummet, leaving you feeling more isolated and unhappy. Remember those cute little neurotransmitters, dopamine and its pals? They're like the brain's very own cheerleaders, always rooting for you to feel good. They're the chemical messengers in your brain responsible for pleasure, motivation, and reward. Think of them as the brain's way of giving you a high five for doing something enjoyable. Every time you stumble across something enjoyable, a delicious meal, a heartfelt hug, or you guessed it, explicit content, your brain goes, woohoo, more of that please. It's like a little party in your head every time you experience something pleasurable. Now here's where things get interesting. Frequent exposure to highly stimulating content can send those dopamine levels into overdrive. It's like turning the volume up to 11 on your brain's pleasure system. The brain, flooded with pleasure chemicals, starts to adapt, becoming less sensitive to its effects. It's as if your brain is saying, hey, I've seen this show before and it's not as exciting as it used to be. This is known as tolerance, and it's the first sign that you might be heading down the slippery slope of addiction. Your brain needs more to feel the same level of excitement. As tolerance builds, you need more and more stimulation to achieve the same level of pleasure. It's a never-ending chase for that initial high. This can lead to escalating behaviors like seeking out riskier content or spending increasing amounts of time online. It's a vicious cycle that's hard to break. And here's the real kicker: over time, this rewiring can make it difficult to find pleasure in things that used to excite you, like real-life relationships, hobbies, or, just hanging out with friends. It's like your brain has forgotten how to enjoy the simple things in life. So, you've been spending a little too much time with your digital companions, and your brain is swimming in a sea of dopamine, constantly seeking that next hit of digital pleasure. What's the big deal, right? Well, aside from the obvious social awkwardness of explaining your internet history to your grandma, this rewiring can have some real consequences for your love life, affecting how you connect with others. Remember those dopamine receptors we talked about? The ones that are now burnt out like a cheap firework display? They're crucial for feeling pleasure and connection. Well, they play a crucial role in attraction and intimacy, the very foundation of romantic relationships. When you're constantly bombarding your brain with unrealistic portrayals of sex and relationships, it can become difficult to connect with real people in meaningful ways, making genuine interactions feel less rewarding. Suddenly, your partner's quirks, the ones you used to find endearing, start to seem, well, kind of boring and mundane. The emotional connection, the intimacy, the shared laughter, it all pales in comparison to the instant gratification of your online world, which is always just a click away. This can lead to a vicious cycle of dissatisfaction, withdrawal, and seeking out even more extreme content to numb the emotional void, leaving you feeling more isolated than ever. Okay, so maybe you're starting to think that your relationship with your devices has gotten a little out of hand. Don't worry, there's hope. Just like any addiction, breaking free from compulsive porn use takes time, effort, and a whole lot of self-compassion. The first step is acknowledging the problem. It's easy to downplay the issue, to tell yourself that it's not a big deal, that you can stop anytime. But the truth is, if you're struggling to control your urges, if it's impacting your relationships, work, or mental health, it's time to seek help. There are tons of resources available, from online support groups to therapists who specialize in internet addiction. Remember, you're not alone in this. Millions of people struggle with compulsive behaviors, and there's no shame in